Everyone, we're gonna wait a couple of minutes to see if this gets set and ready to go. Doo-doo-doo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FAFSA presentation. I see there are several people on. So we will go ahead and get started. This event is going to be recorded, so you will be able to come back and rewatch anything that you missed if you have to leave. And we are just going to go ahead. Oh, and also, if you are on YouTube, if you're on the main, oops, can't post messages. If you are on the main page, you should be able to type in your questions or comments, and we should be able to see them. We're going to answer any questions that y'all have at the end. So with that being said, let's get started. So my name is Ms. Gonzalez, and I am one of the college advisors at Western Hills High School. I serve seniors with the last names A through C. And this is my third year at Western Hills being an advisor. So let's have Ms. Boudreau. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ms. Boudreau. I work with seniors whose last name starts with GR through JI. And I also work with half the sophomores, and this is my first year being a college advisor at Western Hills.
All right, Mr. Perez, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Perez, and this is my first year as a college advisor at Western Hills. I assist Ms. Gonzalez with the juniors, and I also work with the seniors with their last name from D through GO.
Perfect. All right, Miss Moody, your turn.
Hi, my name is Miss Moody. This is my first year working as an advisor at Western Hills, and I work with seniors with the last names O through S, as well as the freshman class.
Awesome. And finally, Mr. Miller.
Hello, everyone. I am Mr. Miller, and I work with seniors T through Z, so the end, and then half of the freshmen, and this is my first year as an advisor here at Western Hills.
Perfect. Okay, I'm trying to put the link into the chat, but it's not letting me. So I'm going to try to do it on my phone. So give me 1 second. If y'all have any questions already, let us know. Okay, let me see how I can do this. Okay, I think maybe it worked, possibly. If not, it's fine. We can email it out later. Okay, so the way this is going to work is we are going to take turns going through this FAFSA packet. We're going to be able to share our screens with you all so you can see what we're talking about. Yes, this video will be available afterwards. So it'll stay up. You know, you can rewatch whatever you missed if you miss anything, or you can refer to it again later. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Perfect. So we are going to go through the FAFSA packet that you all should have received. If you're watching from a different school, you should have a very similar packet. It should be exactly the same, but with a different cover that has your school name on it. So first off, what is the FAFSA and what is the TASFA? So the FAFSA is going to be the federal application for, or free application for federal student aid. And what it is you fill it out and it tells your colleges that you apply to how much money that they can give you. And the only money that actually comes from the FAFSA is going to be the federal Pell Grant. Last year, it was about $6,195 was the maximum amount you could receive. I don't know if it's going to be the same this year, if it's going to be different, but it'll be something around that. The TASFA is a Texas application for student financial aid. And so you're eligible to fill out the FAFSA if you have a social security number, or if you have an alien registration number, so like a green card. If you do not have either of those, then you are going to be eligible to fill out the TASFA. And we'll cover that really quickly. Let me see if it shows up. Perfect. Okay. So this is the TASFA. You will fill out the TASFA if you are an undocumented student, or if you are a DACA student, or if you have not lived in the country, I think for 5 years. This is what you will fill out. This is exactly the same as the FAFSA. The only difference is it looks different, and it's a paper copy. So you will fill this out on a PDF profiler like this, like Adobe, and then you'll print it and you'll mail it to each school that you apply to. There are additional documents that you will need to fill out. Let me see if it shows on here. Don't remember if it does or not. Sorry, I know I'm going through this quickly. We're going to go through all of this, so don't worry. No, it doesn't have it on here. Okay, so additional documents you'll need to fill out for the TASFA are going to be the affidavit of residency. You have to have it signed and stamped by an official registrar. Males will need to register for the selective service. You'll need to fill that out, and you'll need a tax return transcript. If you are a student who will be filling out the TASFA, please let your college advisor know, and we will be able to get all of those documents in order for you, okay? It'll be much easier to do that on a one-to-one basis than having to do it on here right now. So that's just a little bit about the TASFA. Okay, so now continuing, what is financial aid? There are different forms of financial aid. You can receive grants. This is free money that you don't have to pay back. It's similar to scholarships. Scholarships, also free money you don't have to pay back. But scholarships can come from all different types of places. So you can get institutional scholarships, which are from the colleges you're applying to. You can get outside scholarships, like from the Benbrook Police Department, or from like the Fort Worth Library, or you can get institutional scholarships, which would be like from TCU or LSU or University of North Texas or University of Texas at Arlington, etc. Those are institutional scholarships. They're going to come from the individual schools themselves. And then you also have loans. So loans can be very scary. The thing about loans is you can take out loans, you just don't want to take out too much. And the way you're going to determine if you're taking out too much is by talking to your advisor or counselor. That's going to be a one-on-one basis. So you'll really need to talk with them to understand how much loans are too much and how much are okay. There's also work study. So the way work study works is that they will give you sort of like a cap amount. So they'll say, okay, you are eligible for $2,000 of work study. And so what that means is you will get a job on campus, like at the library or at the bookstore or in a dorm, and you'll work that job, and you're basically trying to work up to that $2,000, which you probably won't ever meet. You probably won't ever earn all of that $2,000 unless you're working a lot. But that's what work study is. It's money that they give you that you earn in a check each week as you work an on-campus job. And again, if you have any questions, share them in the chat, and we will answer them at the end. Okay, so that's a little bit about what financial aid is and what FAFSA is. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and now Ms. Boudreau is going to cover the FSA ID. So she's going to share her screen.
Okay, give me 1 second.
No problem. While she's doing that, I did see where can we find these scholarships. You can find scholarships all over. if you just type in scholarships, you can find scholarships from the individual schools on those schools' websites. So like, for example, if you're looking for scholarships from TCU, just Google TCU scholarships and they'll come up. Okay, and you see that you have your thing up. Okay, perfect.
Okay, awesome. So an FSA ID is a username and password that is used to log into your FAFSA account in your FAFSA application. It's also used to sign your FAFSA electronically at the end when you submit it. So these are just some steps on how to create an FSA ID, which we'll go over later on when we do it step-by-step. So if you are a student and a parent, you will need to complete the FSA ID if you have a social security number. If you are a parent or guardian and don't have a social security number, then you will have to print and sign the confirmation page at the end of the FAFSA application, as well as put all zeros for your social security number in the FAFSA application. And if you're a parent or guardian who already has a student enrolled in college, then you have to use the same FSA ID for your student currently enrolling into college. So the only thing you'll really need to create one is your social security number, your full name that's written on your birth certificate, as well as your date of birth. And then the next page of the packet is just a worksheet for you to kind of write down all your passwords and usernames so that way you don't lose them, because if you do, it's really hard to get them back. So this is just for you to do your username, your password, your challenge questions and answers, as well as verifying your address and your phone number. So that is the FSA ID.
Awesome. Now we are going to have Mr. Miller go over the FAFSA checklist.
Perfect. Okay. Maybe you can scroll in. Okay, period. Let's go. So, is that it? Yes.
I got it.
So, I am going to be running through what all you'll need to complete the FAFSA. So, all the documents that you'll need is the student and parent 2019 federal income tax forms. Make sure that this is from 2019 and not any other year. And also any of the student and parent 2019 W-2 forms. So all the tax information from 2019 possible, you will need that. Additional information, you'll need your social security number if you are filling out the FAFSA only, and the student's driver's license number, that will also be needed as well. In regards to the parents will also need to create an FSA ID, only one parent though. You will need the parents' marital status and date. So if your parents are married, if they're divorced, and when they were married, so the date in which they were married or remarried. You also need your parents' social security numbers as well. Again, if they don't have one, then they can just fill out zeros for where they put the social security number. And then parent birth dates, you will need them as well. To continue, you're going to need the parent's current cash saving checking account balances. So whatever bank account they use, you'll need to report how much is in each account they have as well. You'll need their current investment values, including stocks, savings bonds, mutual funds, all of that good stuff. You'll need the parent's current business value. You need the parent's current value of investment farm or rental properties. And you'll need the 2019 child support paid or received and the parent's 2019 workers' compensation benefits. This may not apply to you, but if it does, then you will have to fill it out. Additional information, if applicable, you'll need parents' 2019 housing, food, living allowance for military and clergy, veterans' non-education benefit amounts, and then you'll need the students' alien registration numbers if you're an eligible non-citizen. Is that all me?
Yes, that should be everything.
Okay.
So now we're going to have Mr. Perez cover who is my parent when it comes to the FAFSA.
Fantastic. Let me see. So,
And again, if y'all have questions, you can drop them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end. Let me spotlight. There we go.
okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So as you can tell that we're using a lot of your parents' information. So it's important to understand which parent to use their information within the FAFSA. So, everyone's living situations are very different. So you can either have parents that are divorced, remarried, or you may live with your sister or your brother. And as a dependent student, you're supposed to put the information of your parents on the application. So I'm just going to give 7 different scenarios that you might be in and how to put that into the application. So the first scenario is if your parents are living and are legally married to each other, then you'll answer the questions for both of them. For the second scenario, if your parents are living together and are not married, you'll answer the questions for both of them. The third scenario is if your parent is a widow or have never been married, then you'll answer the question for that single parent. Now, if your parents are divorced or separated and don't live together, emphasis on don't live together, you will answer the questions about the parent with whom you live most throughout the year. But if you do share time with your parents, you spend equal amount of time with your dad and equal amount of time with your mom, then you will provide the information for the parent that provides the most financial support. Following and going on to the next scenario, if your parents are divorced but live together, emphasis on live together, you'll indicate their material or the marital status as unmarried and both parents living together. And you'll put that on the FAFSA. And you will answer the questions for both of them. For the next scenario, if your parents are separated but live together, you will indicate their marital status as unmarried. If your parents are separate but live together, you will indicate their marital status as married or remarried, and then you will answer the questions for both of them. Now, if your parents have remarried and now you have a step-parent who is married to your legal parent, you will report the information from that step-parent as well. So, in the eyes of FAFSA, a parent means your legal, biological, or adoptive parent or step-parent. So unfortunately, your foster parent, your grandparent, or legal guardian, older brother and sister, or any other family relative does not count. And if you fall into this situation, just contact your college advisor and we can definitely help you with this situation. And that's all I have for mine.
Perfect. All right. So now we have Miss Moody. She's going to be going over other information.
Awesome. So let me just get my screen ready. Okay. So more often than not, when you are filling out the FAFSA, you are going to be considered a dependent. And so you will need to be putting in your parent or guardian's tax information, which Mr. Perez just talked about how to do all of that. So in your FAFSA packet, there's this great page at the back if you are not quite sure if you are going to be a dependent or independent. It has all of these questions, and you go through, and if you answer yes to any of these scenarios, then you would be considered a dependent on the FAFSA, in which case you would not need to put your parent or guardian's information, and you would only put your own tax information. It is very likely that this will not be the case for you, but if you are a student who is currently married, if you have a child who will receive more than half of their support from you, if you have other dependents, so maybe you take care of your siblings and they receive more than half of their support from you, or if you are in foster care or classified as a homeless youth, then you would be a dependent on the FAFSA. So additionally, if you are considered to be homeless, or if you think that you might fall under the categorization of being homeless, you would fill out the FAFSA as a dependent, and please make sure you reach out to one of either your advisor or your counselor if you fall in that category, because we can help you with all of the specifics on how to fill out that form. And another very exciting thing that I get to enjoy talking to y'all about is the T3 partnership. So T3 stands for Parent Through and Through. It is a new partnership that we have with Fort Worth ISD this year. And T3 is a great program that is helping provide college access to our students, and we are so excited to be partnered with them. And one of the steps to becoming a T3 scholar and taking the T3 pledge is filling out the FAFSA. So by filling out the FAFSA and being here for this presentation, you are already partway there. The T3 pledge just starts a relationship between you and members of the T3 team, and they are here to support you through your college and career journey. If your advisor hasn't given you information about T3 yet, they will be in the coming weeks. So just be on the lookout for that and know that filling out your FAFSA is part of taking that pledge. That's all I got on other information.
Perfect. Alrighty, y'all. So now we are going to go through the FAFSA step by step. So in the chat, I put a Google Drive, and if you're able to access that, you should be able to look at this presentation again on your own, and also the packets that we just went over. So the first person that is going to begin is Mr. Miller. He's going to talk about how to create your FSA ID step by step. So whenever you're ready, you can pull up your screen. If you're trying to do this as we go through it, just know that we're not going to be pausing for everyone, because this is going to be available later. If you have issues, let us know, let your advisor know, and we'll help you, again, on a one-to-one basis. But yes, ask any questions in the chat and we'll answer them at the end.
All right. Can everyone see this?
Let me put it up. Yes, now we can.
Perfect. Okay, so first thing you do, you need an FSA ID. You're going to go to the website and you're going to hit create an account. From there, you're going to hit get started, step 2. And this tells you all the things that you will need in order to create the account. Step 3, you're going to be filling out all of your personal information. So be sure to fill out all the required information and double check the spelling to make sure that everything is correct, because you're going to want to make sure that it matches every document that you have. So this is very important. If the student does not know their social, then you can ask your parent if they have it, or you can ask your counselor if they have it as well. If the student does not have a social security number, that is okay. Then they cannot use the FSA ID, and then you will have to fill out the TASFA. If the student has a social, but their parent does not, then the student can still create an FSA ID, but the parent will not. That means that the parent will have to hand sign a signature page and cannot do it electronically.
And we'll go over that again at the end.
Period. You're going to continue on with creating your filling out your account information. You're going to create a username, email address, confirming your email address, create a password, and what you're going to do is to make sure to write this down in your phone, so you can have it whenever you need it. Have it in a safe space, because it's a hassle to try to remember it again.
Yes, and you're going to, sorry to interrupt you, you're going to need this same login when you do the FAFSA again next year. You need to do the FAFSA every single year that you go to college. So make sure that you make it something that you're going to remember.
Correct. And make sure your username is available and your password meets these requirements. So, for example, it has uppercase letters, lowercase numbers, and extra characters like a question mark, a period, all that stuff. So then you're going to continue filling out contact information like your permanent address. So your address, city, state, zip code, all that jazz. So when you're done filling that out, you're going to fill out the mobile account recovery. This will allow you to recover your username and password if you forget it. So in the case, again, like you forget your password and username, you can just put in your phone number and a code will be sent to your phone number and you can retrieve it there. So make sure to put your correct phone number in. You will want to select which you would prefer to receive communications or financial aid. Email is highly recommended because it's easier, or you can do postal mail, but email is a bit of an easier way to receive this communication. Next, informational communications. You can choose to receive information about different types of financial aid by email, by text, or by both. If you do not want to receive these messages, do not select anything at all then. Challenge questions. So challenge questions are a big thing in retrieving your username or password. From these questions, you can select some questions and you'll put in an answer. Be sure to write down your questions and answers in your phone so you do not forget. And pick a question from the selected questions that you can readily answer. For example, it could be like, what is your nickname of your youngest sibling? What city were you born in? Stuff that you can easily know off the top of your head. And then once you are done filling out all this information, you're going to confirm to make sure that it is correct. If it is not, you can go to the edit tab and then edit the information as needed. But this is the way to make sure that all the information that you put in is correct. And then continue confirming your account information. Just double, triple, quadruple check that all the information is correct. And then you're going to confirm your challenge questions and agree to the terms of service right down here. And then you're going to confirm your information. Finally, you need to verify your phone number and email address. So you just have to just click on it and it will send a code to your phone number and email to confirm that everything is correct. Yes, as again, a code will be sent to your phone number. So then you'll receive a text from it, and then you will enter the code into the box right there. Period. Copy the code. Yes, yes, yes. Enter the code there. Yes. Same thing for your email. The code will be sent to your email, and then you will type it in. And then once all that is fun and verified, you will put continue. And then you are ready to begin the FAFSA. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. All right, Ms. Boudreau, it's your turn to continue.
Yes. Alrighty. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Perfect. Alrighty, so now we get to start filling out the FAFSA. When you log in, you are going to use your FSA ID, which Mr. Miller just showed you how to create. You're going to use the same username and password, which is why it's super important that you remember it and that you write it down so you don't forget. You're also going to click I'm a student because you are the student who is applying for colleges. This is just a disclaimer telling you what the FAFSA is and who's going to read it and all of that. So you just click accept and you come to this fun little page. This is a save key. This is just to help you pick up where you leave off. So say you start filling out your FAFSA and then you have to go to work, so you log out and then you want to come back and finish it after work. You create a save key and it'll bring you right back to where you left off. It could be something super easy like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2, anything that you can remember. And as always, just go ahead and write it down so you don't forget it. And then these are just questions about the FAFSA. You can read them and read the answers if you want, or you can skip them because we're about to go over all of this anyway. So the first thing you'll see is student demographics. It's going to ask for your first name, last name, middle initial. You have to make sure you spell it correctly and as it is on your birth certificate, so that way it matches your FSA ID, as well as your social security number and your date of birth. Really make sure that those are all correct, double check them, everything like that. Then it's going to ask you for your mailing address. Once again, make sure you spell everything correctly. You have the right city and you have the right zip code. And your email address, it should be the email that you check most frequently, so that way you know what's coming through and all of that. So it's going to ask you for it, and then you're just going to have to re-enter it and then click next. And then it's going to ask you if you lived in Texas for at least 5 years. If you lived in Texas for at least 5 years, you're going to say yes. And if you haven't, then you're going to say no. Then it's going to ask you for your gender. If you are a female, these are the only questions you'll see on this page. It's going to ask for your telephone number, your driver's license number, as well as your driver's license state. If you don't have a driver's license yet, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and leave that blank, but make sure you put in your phone number, preferably your cell phone number, or at least a number that they can easily contact you with. And if you are a male, then you're going to need to pay attention to the next slide because it's specifically for you. If you're a male, it's going to ask if you signed up for selective service. In order to complete the FAFSA and get the financial aid, you have to be signed up for selective service if you're a male. So it's going to ask you if you're registered for it. You're going to click no. And then it's going to ask if you would like to register for it. You're going to click yes. It's just going to make it super easier later down the road. And if you are a female, once again, you're not going to get these questions because you're not required to sign up for selective service. Oh, I just lost my arrow. Don't really know what's happening. Okay, so this is what the slide's going to look like if you're a male. It's just going to pop up with the same questions we went over. You're just going to click yes, no, and then yes, and then click next. And if your marital status should be single, even if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or anything like this, you are not legally married, so you're going to say, I am single. And then it's going to ask you if you are a U.S. citizen. You're going to select yes if you were born in the United States or have become a citizen, and then you're going to select no if you're an eligible non-citizen. So this is if you have a green card or an eligible federal ID number, and then it's going to ask for your registration number at the bottom. And then this is just going to ask you about your education completion and everything like that. So what will your high school completion status be when you begin college? It's going to say high school diploma. Because you haven't done any college yet, the highest you have is a diploma. Then it's going to ask what your college grade level will be when you start your first freshman year. You're going to say you've never attended college and it's your first year. Then it's going to ask what degree or certificate will you be working on. You'll be working on your first bachelor degree because this will be your first one that you're working towards. And then it's going to ask you, will you have your first bachelor degree before you start? And you're going to say no, because the highest education you've received at this time is a high school diploma. And then it's going to just keep asking you a bunch of questions. So are you interested in being considered for work study? I would recommend yes, but you don't have to if you're not interested in that. And then it's going to ask if you are a foster youth or if you're any time in the foster care system. This is just on a personal, it's going to be different for every student. If you were a foster youth, you're going to click yes. If you weren't, you're going to click no. It's also going to ask for your parents' highest school completion. So if one of your parents graduated high school but never went to college, then you're going to say high school. If another parent graduated college and graduated high school, then you're going to say that their highest is college. And that is it for your demographics.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Boudreau. So now we're going to have Ms. Moody talk about school selection. And just so y'all know, we are seeing your questions and we're going to answer them at the end again. So just be patient, please.
Awesome. So now I'm going to talk to you about school selection. So on this page, the first section on the school selection tab, you're going to search for your high school. So you can do this by typing in Western Hills High School, or if you're watching from a different high school, you would type in the name of your high school. and then put Fort Worth for the city your school is located, Texas, and then it's really important that you hit this search button at the bottom. By hitting the search button at the bottom, that is how your FAFSA will get linked up with our school and how we see that you've completed the FAFSA. So it is very, very important that you hit that search button. When you do, you'll be taken to this page and be able to find the one that says Western Hills HS City Fort Worth and click select. You need to make sure you do this step. If you skip this step, the FAFSA will not go through our school, which is very unfortunate. Next, after you add your high school, you can go on to the next step. So you click the next button down at the bottom. And now you're going to select which schools you'd like to send your FAFSA to. You can add up to 10 different schools to send your FAFSA to, and you need to be sure that you add all of the schools that you plan to apply for. Now, you don't need to know this college's federal school code in order to add them. You can search for them by entering the school's name, state, and city name, just like you did when searching for your high school. If you aren't sure exactly which schools you want to apply to, but you have a good idea, we recommend that you put every school you know for sure that you're going to apply to, and then also ones that you just might apply to, because you can add up to 10 schools. So you want to take advantage of that and make sure that everywhere you end up applying is going to get your FAFSA. When you enter the school's information, just like you did the high schools, you'll click the search button and then the school will pop up and you just click the little checkbox next to the school name. And then if you want to add more schools, you click down at the bottom and say add more schools, and it's going to take you back to the search page where you can add the remaining schools that you plan to apply to. Then when you're finished adding schools, you're going to see this page and it's going to ask you where you plan to live for each school. Just select on campus for all of your schools. Even if you're not sure if you would live on campus, just go ahead and do that for the sake of the FAFSA. Makes things easier, and it's most likely that you would live on campus if you go there. And that's all we have on school selection.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Moody. So now Mr. Miller is going to go over dependency status, which is the next part of the FAFSA.
Perfect. Yes. Okay, so I'll be going over dependency status. A lot of these questions in this section will be answered no, but in case it applies to you, then you put yes. Some of these questions are, were you born before January 1st, 1995? Most of the time it should be no, but if it applies to you, then yes. If you are married, at the beginning of 2018-2019 school year, you'll be working on a master's or doctorate program. That is most of the time that will be no, but if yes, it applies to you. Let's see. Some more questions that it'll ask you is: do you now have or will have children who receive more than half of their support from you between July 1st, 2018 or June 30th, 2019? Most of the time that'll be no, but if it applies to you, yes. And do you have dependents other than your children or spouse who live with you and who receive more than half of their support from you now and through June 30th, 2019? Most of the time for you all, that'll be no, but if yes, then yes. Just some more questions that may apply to you. Most of the time for y'all will not. These questions include if you're on active duty, if you're a veteran, if you were in foster care or your parents are deceased or you're a ward of the state, if you are an emancipated minor, or if someone other than your parent or step-parent have legal guardianship over you. Most of the time, it'll be no, but if this applies to you, then you will know it and you will say yes, it does. This one applies to homelessness. So homeless means that you do not have a steady place to live. If you might be considered homeless, please talk to us or your counselor before continuing through the rest of this FAFSA. Yes. If you are not considered homeless and one or both of your parents are alive, then you'll provide both of your parents' information in the next section. So you have seen this this chart before with Sean, who presented it wonderfully. But again, I'll go through I'll skim it a little bit. You just go and answer the questions, how they apply to you. For example, are your parents married to each other? If yes, then you'll put both the parents. If not, you ask, do they live together? If no, you will just follow the sequence of questions to know what parent to put into your FAFSA. So you will continue by filling out your parents' marital list and the date that applies to them. So if your parents are married or remarried, you will select that and you will put the date in which they're married or remarried here at the bottom. You will continue to fill out your parents' personal information, so that includes their social security number, their name, and the date of birth. This is very important. So if your parent does not have a social security number, that is okay. You will just have to put in all zeros for where it said parents' social security number. So again, just put in zeros for where it would be for parents' social security number. You will continue by putting in your parents' email address and re-entering it to verify it. And then there's a question that says, it will ask you, have your parents lived in Texas for at least 5 years? If yes, then hit yes. If no, then no. Again, the same question, have your parents lived in Texas for at least 5 years? If yes, then click yes, and no, then no. Household size. So in the first tab, it says number of parents. So if your parents are married, then this number should be 2. If you live with one parent or putting info in for one parent, then you would just put the number 1. For the number of siblings living in your house that are dependent on your parents, you'll put that number. For example, if you have 3 siblings that are still supported by your parents, you'll put that number. You will also have to put the amount of other people that live in your house. That includes aunts, uncles, cousins. You'll put that total number in that section right there with the red line. And then at the very bottom, you'll put the total number of people that live in your house. Continuing on, next you will type in the number of people in your family that will be attending college in the fall of 2021. So if it is just you, then you put the number 1. But say you have you and another sibling that will be in college in the fall of 2021, then you'll put 2, for example. So yeah. All right.
Awesome. That means it's my turn. Okay. Let me share my screen. So now to continue with the presentation, if you're following along, then you will need your parents' 2019 tax return. It has to be 2019. Okay, can everyone see this? Yes? Oh wait, I went all the way back to the beginning. Hold on. You cannot use any tax return. If you try to use 2018, it's not correct. Make sure that you use 2019. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what I just did. We will scroll. Okay, we'll just do it from here. All right, hopefully that looks okay. Perfect. So, okay, you're going to select your parents' tax filing status. On the Form 1040, which you will see in it momentarily, at the very top, it's going to say how your parent filed. So, or actually, it's going to say first if they already completed. If they already completed, then you're going to select already completed. If they're going to file, you'll select will file. And if they have not or are unable to file, for example, if your parent lives in another country and they do not file taxes, you're going to select not going to file. Next, you will select which type of tax return your parents filed. Most of the time, almost 100% of the time, it's going to be the IRS 1040. The other ones are very specific. If you do have a situation like that, let your advisor or counselor know. So this is what the Form 1040 looks like. Again, it'll say Form 1040 at the top, and it'll say 2019. Has to be 2019. After you select your form type, you will enter in your parents' tax filing status. So the different statuses are single, head of household, married filed joint return, married filed separate return, qualifying widower, or don't know. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. At the top of this Form 1040, it'll tell you the filing statuses, and it'll have a little X or check mark for the box that applies to the tax return. Okay, so after you hit next, when this section is all filled out, you'll hit next. And then this is the part that we really have to pay attention to. So this is the first question it'll ask you. What was your parents' adjusted gross income for 2019? This amount is found on IRS Form 1040, line 8B. It's very simple. All you do is you go to the Form 1040, you go all the way down to the bottom where it says 8B, and you enter in whatever number is in that box. You're just going to paste it right in or copy it right into this box. The next question is a little bit more complicated. How much did your parent one earn from working, wages, salaries, tips, etc. in 2019? This amount is your parent one portion of the IRS 1040 line 1 plus Schedule 1 lines 3 and 6 and box 14 of IRS Schedule K1. Now that's a lot of stuff. Okay, let's break it down. So the very first thing says this amount is your parent one portion of the IRS 1040 line 1. So if we go back to the 1040 and we look at line 1, we're going to copy that number. Most of the time, your parents are not going to have a Schedule 1 or a Schedule 2. If that's the case, all you're going to do is copy in what you found on line 1. You don't need to worry about the other numbers, okay? However, if your parent did file a Schedule 1, we're going to go look at, it says Schedule 1 lines 3 and 6. So we're going to add our number from line 1 of the first page, and we're going to go to Schedule 1 at the very top left-hand corner. It'll say Schedule 1, and we're going to add lines 3 and 6. If they do have a Schedule 1 and there's nothing in lines 3 and 6, there's no numbers, then you're just going to put whatever you found again on line 1 of the 1040, okay? Next. Let me go back. Sorry. It also asks for Schedule K1, box 14. Now, this form is extremely rare. It is very unlikely that your parent has this form, but if they do, this little red circle or oval is where you'll find that number, and you're just going to add them all together and enter them into the box. Okay. Now, I know I saw a question about this, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it since I'm on this part. If your parent, let me look at the question again. My parents do not have their W-2s. Okay, so if your parent does not have, if your parents are married and they don't have their W-2s, really the only thing you can do is enter in the full amount into your parent one box. And in your parent two box, you're going to put 0. Because they filed joint, meaning they filed it together, that's really the only way that you're going to be able to enter that in. So again, for your parent one, you're going to put the full amount that they made, and then that they made together, and then your parent two, you're going to put 0. If you're still confused about that, please reach out to your advisor or counselor, and they can provide you some more information. But hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so this question might pop up. I don't know why it pops up or why it doesn't, but it might. So the question is, you indicated that your parents filed an IRS 1040. Did your parents file a Schedule 1? Select no if your parents did not, or only filled it out to report an Alaska permanent fund dividend, which is very unlikely. So if they did, say yes. If they didn't, say no. Very simple. If you selected no, you can continue to the next page. If you select yes or don't know, This next question will pop up. As of today, are either of your parents a dislocated worker? A dislocated worker is someone who has been laid off from their job and is no longer working or is unable to work. So you just select yes, no, or don't know. A new question will pop up if you select no. Select any benefits that your family has. Most of the time, you will probably be on free or reduced price school lunch. So you can go ahead and select that. If you don't have any of them, you can leave them blank. You can put none of the above. If you don't know, if you're unsure, just put none of the above. That's fine. Okay, this is the very last question that's going to require the Form 1040. It says, enter the amount of your parents' income tax, should say for 2019. This is the total amount of IRS Form 1040, line 14, minus Schedule 2, line 2. Okay, so I don't think I put the screenshots in here. Okay, so you're going to go back to the Form 1040. You're going to look at line 14, take that amount. If your parent does not have a Schedule 2, you're just going to put whatever amount you found on line 14. If there's nothing in line 14, you're just going to put a 0. And then if your parent does have a Schedule 2, go ahead and subtract those two numbers. And if there's nothing, again, on the Form 1040 line 14 and there's nothing on Schedule 2 line 2, you just put zeros. That's it. Okay. These are the questions that will appear next. Most likely your answer is going to be 0 for all of these. These questions are asking if your parent received any combat pay, mostly in regards to the military, if they received educational credits or grants or scholarships in the past years. And this is your parent, so not you as a student. This is a parent. So you just go through these. Most of the time, they're going to be zeros. If you are unsure, ask your advisor or counselor. Okay. The next question is going to be if your parent paid any child support for the whole of 2019. It's going to be for the whole year. So if they paid anything, put that amount in. And then there's two more questions. One says earnings from work under a cooperative education program offered by a college. Most likely it's going to be 0. And also the next question will also most likely be a 0 because it's asking if your parent was employed through work study. Okay, so the following page is going to ask for any child support that your parent received. So the first one was child support your parent paid, and the second one is child support your parent received. So you can go ahead and put in that number for the whole year, so all of 2019, and then continue filling out the rest of the financial questions. And again, the answers are probably going to be 0. Okay, we're almost done with parent financials. Select no for this question. As of today, do you want to skip questions about your parents' assets? Just say no. As of today, what is your parents' total balance of cash savings and checking accounts? It doesn't have to be an exact amount. You can just put an estimated number like $500 or $300 or whatever it is. Just put that in. And then most likely the next two questions are going to be 0 because it's asking if your parents have any investments or if they have any businesses. Okay, finally, we are on student information, and this one's going to go much quicker. So this is going to ask if you as a student filed taxes in 2019. Most of the time, you either did not file taxes or you did not make enough money to file taxes. So you're going to select already completed, will file, or will not. Most of the time it's going to be will not file. If you didn't earn any money in 2019, just put 0. Or if you don't remember how much you earned, just put 0 because it's probably not going to be, you probably did not make enough for it to impact anything in the FAFSA. Again, all of these put 0 unless you do in fact pay child support. You're not in college yet, so you won't have received any of the other items. And then all of these also will be 0 unless you receive child support. These questions as well. Do you want to skip questions about your assets? Just say no and then put zeros. You really don't need to put anything for your current balance of cash savings or and checking accounts if you don't want to. And then finally, we are on the sign and submit. Let me stop sharing. All right, Mr. Perez. I know that was a lot, so, you know, this presentation is going to be on here so you can review it.
Let's see.
There you go.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're finally here. We're finally on the Sign and Submit tab. So when you get to the Sign and Submit tab, the first question is going to show, are you a preparer? Just automatically put no, because a preparer is someone that gets paid to fill out the FAFSA for you. So that's an obvious answer. Now going on to the next one, once you click next, you're going to be taken to a FAFSA summary page. And this is going to show everything that you went through from the very beginning of the FAFSA process and filling out all that information. And this is the opportunity that you have to fix anything that is wrong. So double, triple, quadruple check everything. And if everything's correct, then you can click next and go on to the next step, and it's the signature status page. So the student will click on the provide student signature first. Then you will read through pretty much an overview, like an outline about that you see right there. Just talking about if everything you've added onto the FAFSA is accurate, or what happens if you default on your loans, and so on and so forth, legal things. But you will click agree and then click next. And then now it's time for your parent to sign the FAFSA. So by doing that, your parent will need to sign in with their FAFSA or the FSA ID, and hopefully they've already created one, and they will provide that information once clicking onto that same button that you clicked on to sign. However, if your parent does not have a social security number, they cannot sign the FAFSA document electronically. So the way they're going to do this is by printing out the signature page, by clicking print signature page, and then it will take you to this next page. You're going to scroll all the way down, and you're going to press print. And then after you're done printing and signing everything, you're going to send it to this address. Hopefully my little mouse is going over it. And then you're going to mail it. You're going to snail mail it to that address. So it may take a little bit longer for the individuals that don't have, if their parents don't have the social security number and they have to mail it in. But don't worry, you can still complete your FAFSA. It's just going to take a little bit longer to approve. And as you can see, if you decide to submit your FAFSA without the signatures, your FAFSA will not be fully processed. So you must send both the student and parent signature to complete the FAFSA. And congratulations, we are finally done with your FAFSA.
Yay! All right, guys. So y'all did wonderful. I'm going to spotlight myself because I'm going to answer some questions. And to kind of go back on what Mr. Perez was saying, other reasons that you might print a signature page to mail is if for some reason your parent is having trouble getting into their FSA ID, or they're not getting the code, or there's a multitude of reasons why you might want to print a signature page. You'll go ahead and print the signature page, sign it, mail it. It'll take about 2 to 3 weeks to process, usually about 2. And then once it's processed, your FAFSA will say processed. So that's that. Okay, so we do have some questions. I know I kind of answered this earlier. Where can we find these scholarships? Like I said, you can Google scholarships. There's really big scholarships that you can apply for, like the Dr. Pepper scholarship, the Live Moss, which is by Taco Bell. There's scholarships just for Fort Worth ISD. So if you type in FWISD scholarships, there will be a scholarship PDF that comes up. These are updated every single month and they're local, so you're more likely to win those. There's also scholarships for each individual university. So you might search up TCU scholarships or LSU scholarships or UNT scholarships, whatever school it is that you're looking for. Now make sure that if there's a scholarship you're interested in and you're eligible to apply for, that you apply for it by the deadline, and you have to send all of your paperwork by the deadline. Okay, so another question, both parent and student need an FSA ID. Yes. If your parent has a social security number, you will need, or if you have both of your parents, you will just need one. So you always just need one parent to create an FSA ID. And like I said, if for some reason they are unable to, like if they don't have a social security number or they're having issues or they have one, but for some reason they can't get in, you will just, when you finish the FAFSA, you will print a signature page, mail it, and then you're going to submit without signatures and wait for that signature page to process for your FAFSA to be fully complete. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay, so I have another question. Just want to be sure I understand. I'm the grandmother / guardian to my grandson, and he's a dependent on our taxes, but we haven't legally adopted him, so his parents have to complete the FAFSA. That is correct. The student has to be legally adopted in order for the guardian to put their tax information on the FAFSA. So almost all of the time, the student will have to use their parent information. If there is a special circumstance where the student has not seen their parent for over a year, or the parent lives out of the country, or, there's all kinds of situations, talk to your advisor, and your advisor will be able to assist you on how to proceed with that. In very special circumstances like those, the student will just have to put will not provide parent information. And what's going to happen when the student does that is they're most likely going to be selected for verification. And so that's a whole nother process. But basically, if a student is selected for verification, all it means is that the colleges that they apply to are going to ask the student to submit additional paperwork. And what that paperwork might be is just asking, like, are you sure that you haven't had contact with your parent? But kind of like that. It's not going to be outright like that. Another reason a student might be selected for verification is if they have a lot of people living in their household. Sometimes students have grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles that live with them, and they might put on their FAFSA they have 10 people living in their household. That's another reason why the FAFSA might select that student for verification. It's nothing to be worried about. It's just that the colleges are going to ask you to verify, like, yes, I do have 10 people that live in my house. But there's nothing wrong with being selected for verification. And again, if you are, ask your college advisor or counselor to assist you with that if you have questions. Okay, there was a question about dual credit / early college for education. If you are in dual credit, dual credit is not the same as attending college full time. So you do not have a degree. You will not put that on your FAFSA. You still have to put high school diploma because you have not yet graduated from high school. Unless you have a very special circumstance where you already received your associate's degree. But in that case, speak with your counselor or college advisor so they can assist you with that better. Okay, and then we already answered the joint return and the W-2s. So we use our FSA ID to fill out the FAFSA, but why do we need a parent FSA ID? The parent FSA ID, okay, because the student is using the parent's financial information, the parent has to sign the FAFSA saying, this is legally okay, this is legally accurate, yes, my student can submit this information. That's why the parent needs an FSA ID, because you are using their financial information. Hopefully that answers your question. What year is the TASPA paperwork? You're gonna So for the FAFSA and the TASFA, you're going to be using the 2021, wait, sorry, let me look. It should be 2021, 2022 FAFSA and TASFA. Hold on. It's always going to be, yeah, it should be 2021. Okay, yeah, you're going to use the 2021, 2022. And that's because you're applying for financial aid for the year that you will be in college. So this year is 2020, 2021. And following year, when you start in the fall of 2021, that's the year you're looking for. So 2021 to 2022. And if you're looking for the TASFA, let me go ahead. I'm going to look it up on my computer. I'm going to put the link in there. It's going to be on College for All Texans, and you can download the TASFA application there. And again, with the TASFA, I said there is additional paperwork, and you're going to want to contact your college advisor or counselor on how to do that, because it's a lot of steps, and it is a little bit more difficult than filling out the FAFSA. Okay, this thing is in my way. Give me 1 second. Hopefully that works. Okay. What requirements do you need to be qualified for FAFSA? The only requirement to be qualified for FAFSA is that the student has a social security number. The parent does not have to have a social security number for the student to fill out the FAFSA. I think it's called an alien registration number or a green card. If you have that, you are eligible or qualified to fill out the FAFSA. If you don't have either of those, then you're most likely going to fill out the TASFA. And really, the only difference is the FAFSA is federal financial aid, and the TASFA is Texas financial aid. So the TASFA was specifically created by the state of Texas for undocumented students or students who are not from the United States to earn financial aid. So it's the same thing. It's just it looks a little bit different, and the process for submitting each of those is a little bit different. Okay, do we have any more questions? I see no more. Do any of my other advisors want to say anything? No, everyone's Gucci.
I just wanted to say, if you do need help or if you get confused, just please don't hesitate contacting us. That's why we're here. We're here to help you through this process because we know it's a little confusing and can be very stressful at times. So just contact your college advisor or your counselor whenever you need help, and we'll be here.
Thank you. It does not let me fill the TASFA. Okay, I'm guessing, okay, on the PDF. You're probably, if it doesn't work, then you're probably going to have to print it out. That probably has something to do with your computer. Maybe you don't have like Adobe PDF filler or something. Or you can get with your advisor and see if they can assist you and help you fill it out virtually. I'm going to put a link to our website where you can request a meeting with your advisor. Okay. It's really simple. It's really easy it's on the screen. It's tcucac.org/WHHS. But there's the link for that. Okay. Do we have any more questions? What if you have just Social Security and no alien registration number? You don't need an alien registration number. If you have a Social Security number, then you're perfect. Don't need, yeah, that's not something that very many people have. Also, one thing to know, if your parent is undocumented or does not have a Social Security number and they file taxes, they're going to have something called an ITIN number. It looks like a Social Security number, but it's not. It's just a number for filing taxes. So if a parent has that, it's going to start with a 9 most of the time. But again, if you have questions about that, contact one of us and we will help you out and help you figure out if it's an ITIN number or if it's a Social Security number. Any other questions? Real quick, I want everyone to go through who they are again, since we're kind of ending, for anybody who wasn't here at the beginning. So let me spotlight myself. I'm Ms. Gonzalez. I'm the 3rd year advisor at Western Hills High School. Yeah, so I've been here for 3 years. Go Cougars. I serve seniors with the last names A through C, as well as juniors And also I want to mention, just because I serve seniors A through C doesn't mean that you cannot come to me for help. You can come to any one of us for help, even if you're not in our like roster of names. So don't ever feel like, oh, Miss Gonzalez is busy, I can't meet with her. You can always meet with one of us. It doesn't just have to be me or whoever. Okay, Miss Boudreau, will you please go next?
Of course. My name is Ms. Boudreau. I work with seniors whose last name starts with GR through JI, and I also work with the sophomores, and this is my first year as a college advisor at Western Hills.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Perez.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Perez, and I am a first-year college advisor at Western Hills, and I help out the juniors as well as the seniors with their last name from D through GO.
Perfect. And Miss Moody.
Hey y'all, my name is Miss Moody. I am also a first year college advisor here at Western Hills. I work with seniors last name O through S, as well as the freshman class.
Perfect. And Mr. Miller.
Hello, once again. I am Mr. Miller, and I am a first-year advisor here at Western Hills, and I am in charge of the seniors T through Z and half of the freshmen. So yeah, if you need me, come talk to me.
Perfect. And then we are missing one of our advisors, Miss Karafi. She works with seniors J, O through N, and she also helps with the 10th graders. You might have seen her in the comments. She was popping up a little bit here and there. But yes, there are 6 advisors at Western Hills. You can work with any one of us, all 6 of us, or just one of us, whatever you need. And again, that link that I sent, the tcucac.org/WHHS, that's where you can book an appointment with us. And also on that website is scholarship information, the slideshow that we shared on here, the FAFSA packet will be on there. And there's other resources about how to apply to college, writing essays, resumes, sending letters of recommendation. It's all on there. And of course, feel free to reach out to us if you need any help. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we hope it was informational. But all right, bye guys.